In through the nose and exhale it out through the mouth. And then on this inhale, just take a nice deep inhale in and imagine on the exhale that you're releasing all of the residue from the past. And as you inhale, you're going to breathe light into your heart. And on this exhale, you're going to release any concerns of the future. So this is to help us land completely in this present moment. And as you feel yourself landing more here in this present moment, think about the reason that you're here, the reason that you took this time to be here, and what your intention is for our time together. It's really critical that we're clear about the why. So whatever shows up, I don't know if you've done yet the meditation, but one of the things in today's homework is just allowing however the inner voice within you is communicating to show up. Sometimes it's not words. And then gently open your eyes. So I'm going to mute the both of you for now. Again, if you want to chime in with any kind of comment, you can just hit on the chat button, or I can unmute you, however you want to do it. So thank you for being on the call, and thank you for being I get so excited I talk with my hands and pull my headphones out. Thank you for being a part of the Say Yes to You. And more than anything, thank you for saying yes to yourself and allowing just whatever's showing up for you to bring you to a deeper place of knowing. That's really what this is about. It's just kind of dipping our toes into the process. And it's really important, especially as we age and become, sometimes as we age, we become a little less connected with our lives because we've been going down this path and we're sort of got these pathways, these ruts that we stay in that have been built over many years, and we don't question them. So this is really an opportunity to look back and think, how can I bring more of who I am? How can I bring more authenticity, more light to who I am? Because the world needs it. And that's the big connection that I'm trying to make here, is because another preconceived notion that I hear of a lot with midlife women is that we're no longer needed in the world, or we're no longer as useful as we used to be because we're not raising children, or perhaps we're slowing down in our career. And that's just not true. So I really want to dispel that belief and find a way to help us to plug deeper in to our purpose and our passions and our creativity. So I have a few things that I wanted to talk about today. One of them is just the importance of up-leveling your life. And what I mean by up-leveling is taking your ordinary, mundane, things that you do every day and finding the joy in them, and also finding that unique expression of yourself that makes a difference in the world. So this is our level of manifestation. We are meant to be great and abundant and prosperous and sharing all of our gifts. And when we start to stifle that down, our flame starts to dwindle. And that's why I named my program Ignited Women. So it's a practice. And that's why I think starting with a 5-day roadmap where, you're first pulling away the roadblocks. I talked about getting the boulders out of the way and clearing your path of all the things that don't belong to you that you've taken on over the years, all of the beliefs, the societal beliefs or beliefs about yourself, or ways that you've put up shields and are protecting yourself. So once you start to eliminate those and separate them out from the truth of who you are, then you start to see new things unfolding for you. And so this is a practice, and it's a practice of living intentionally. And I want to, so it's not about stumbling through your life and just kind of waiting for things to happen or reacting to things that do happen, but instead taking the lead, taking the driver's seat, and not just sitting around hoping that things are going to get better, but instead looking back and going, okay, what do I need? What is it that I really need, and how am I going to get it, and how am I going to ask for it? So this is a real surface level this week. Obviously, we could go into so much detail. I could spend probably a week alone talking about boundaries and how to set them in a clear way so that you can get what you want and feel good about yourself in the way that you're asking for it. So we need to be intentional. And I use this word a lot. And intention is this deep consciousness that comes from within. And that's specifically what we're talking about today in getting closer to our intuition. Our intuition is that deep knowing. And then the intention is what's going to give us the direction and the clarity of what our intuition is telling us. So you really have to get clear on your why. You know, what is your big why in the world? What the question that's asked in the guided meditation today is, why am I here? Who am I, and why am I here? And the way to uncover the answer to those questions is through stillness. And many of us are uncomfortable with stillness because we're used to having the mind spin and the ego leading the train. I'm mixing up all my metaphors today, but I think you're kind of getting what I'm trying to say. So when the ego is the one leading the way, then it's going to input what it wants in order to stay exactly as you are, instead of allowing yourself to blossom into your brilliance. So when you get clear on your why and really understand what your deeper truth is and what your values are, not what you value, but what your values are. You know, do you value truth? Do you value integrity? Do you value family and love? You are the only one that knows that, but you have to be really clear on it. And then when you're making decisions, you have a starting point. I hope that makes sense. So you have to really feel into your why. I'm going to kind of slow that down. So, you know, what is it that invites you to stay connected? What is it that makes you feel connected? I think I spoke in one of the videos, I don't remember which day it was, about those snuggly little moments of life. And that's really what we're after. We often kind of brush over them. You know, the moment, like I went this morning and I took a yoga class, and then I taught a yoga class, and I was on my way home, and I was just thinking, I can't wait to open the door and have my wiggly little dog there to greet me, and she'll roll over on her belly and let me scratch her belly. And it's just a silly moment. And I'm, you know, like using all these silly names, like calling her Spotty and all this stuff. But it's just one of those snuggly little moments where it's like, wow, she's really glad to see me. And I wanted to appreciate that. So taking time to, when you feel those snuggly moments, check in with yourself. And it's like, what is it about? What is it that I value about that moment that I can bring more of into my life? So I'll use that as an example for me, that I value, you know, that she loves me unconditionally, that she gets excited just for me walking in the door. She doesn't have any expectations. She doesn't know where I've been or when I'm leaving again, but she just wants to say, oh, I'm so glad you're here. And so to be seen is a big deal for me. And so being seen even by a dog can brighten up my day. So I look for other ways to brighten my day. I know one thing, it's really important to me to connect with my husband on a daily basis, make sure that, you know, we look each other in the eyes and say good morning or have a great day and sweet kiss before we leave. All of those things help me feel more connected to my life and more connected to who I want to be and how I want to show up. Let's take a nice deep breath in. I wanted to take a little bit of a pause. I feel like I've been chatting for quite a while, and see if there's any questions or comments. Again, you can do it through the chat, or raise your hand, Lynn, if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep on going. We're not going to be on here for a full hour today, unless you have questions that will lead us through the hour. But I just had a few things that I wanted to tie together from all of the videos that you've been seeing thus far. So it seems like we might be good. Okay. So when you get clear on your why, and you get, and if you're not clear on your why, let me talk a little bit about that. So if you're not clear on your why, and you're feeling muddled or confused or angry or whatever is showing up, a way to get clear is to get curious. So you have to kind of feel your way through. It's like wading through the weeds in order to find that beautiful flower. And it can be asking yourself, why am I'm doing this for the sake of what? Or another way is kind of backing into it. What is it that I don't want? And when you figure out what you don't want, then it's going to lead you to what you do want. Oh, hi, there you are. There's your pretty face. So you're building, as you're getting curious and going deeper within into that, what Deepak Chopra calls, and many others, I just happened to more recently heard it from him, is called going into the gap. And when you go into the gap, you're going into that space between the conscious and the unconscious. Some call it subconscious. Some think that subconscious and unconscious are the same thing. And I actually asked my therapist about this last week. I'm like, what's the difference? And he said the subconscious is often, just a little bit closer to the edge of consciousness. So it could be it's something but you're not willing to see yet. And so what you're doing in slowing down and bringing yourself within is you're building a new neural pathway. So instead of going down that deer path, that path that you've been down every single day or for many, many years, you're allowing yourself literally to branch out a little bit and maybe stepping, off in one direction that you didn't anticipate, or one that you'd been on before but has become overgrown. So that's how you manage your own vibration. And, I going back to when I was talking about those snuggly little moments in life, the reason they're so snuggly is because you're in a higher vibration. We're all energetic beings. And when you start to feel those yummy, I think it's called I always get this one wrong. Oxytocin. It's a hormone, a feel-good hormone. And I hope I didn't use the drug name instead of the hormone. I didn't. I'm remembering now. So when you have that feel-good hormone, that's when you're looking at being in a higher, or that's when you're in a higher vibration. And so you want to be in that space as often as possible. One thing that I wanted to share with you is I have recently, probably within the last couple of months, really been consciously working with healers on clearing out things from my subconscious and unconscious level. And it takes a lot of faith because, it's done through muscle testing or sometimes it's, I even had a session done that was over the phone where I didn't even meet or see the person, and they're watching a pendulum swing and, like tapping into my energy to clear out some really, really old stuff that was holding me back from who and how I wanted to show up. So part of creating a new neural pathway for me that's been very effective is working on that unconscious level. And a habit that I have taken on is every morning and every night, I'm listening to a guided visualization. And my particular thing that I'm working on right now is abundance and feeling worthy of abundance, and not only financial abundance, but just abundance in my life. And so I listen to a tape in the morning, at night, and and it literally, I mean, I feel my vibration. I feel, you know, it, like a lightness and energetic shift in me. And I get used to that feeling. So it's just like any other muscle that you are trying to develop when you're training for something, or anything that you're putting a lot of effort into. Takes a lot of trust, and sometimes trust in things that you can't see. So I remember I had this process done a couple of weeks ago, and I went into my ego story of, oh, well, this works for everyone else, but it doesn't work for me, because I didn't have immediate, you know, the sky opened up and everything, all of my life's problems were solved. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. And once I started just relaxing into it a little bit more, I've started to notice a shift in the way that I think. So it can happen. It can happen quickly. It can happen over time. It really just depends on your intention and your willingness to take the incremental steps, one little step at a time, that'll lead you closer to what you want. So let me see if there's anything else. I have a little note and I can't understand it, so I'm not going to worry about that. And remember that this is a process. So you start with yourself and noticing and capturing those small little moments where you feel a shift, and stopping, if you can, in that moment and really breathing it in and then letting it out. And that is like restructuring those neural pathways. I'm completely simplifying this, and I'm hoping I'm even understanding it correctly, but that's the way I understand it to be, is that, you know, that we have that capacity. And another really interesting thing that I read recently is that actually both men and women over the age of 45 have an incredible capacity to learn and become more creative. So we have this notion that's, you know, like this societal belief that our brains start to deteriorate. And sure, there are parts of that, and short-term memory may start to you know, become less and so forth. But there's also that capacity, because we have all of these experiences behind us, we have a deeper capacity for learning. So keep that in mind. If anyone, or even if yourself, you try to tell yourself, yeah, no, you know, any of those self-deprecating notions about aging, remember that you are just as strong, if not stronger, and you have more wisdom than you did when you were younger. So again, start with yourself, be that brilliant light and love that you are, and see what happens. So we are building this capacity to trust. And it starts within. I have said that. I know that that's what this whole journey is about. I get a lot of people saying to me, or wishing for a quick fix or something that's outside of them in order to feel more engaged with their lives. The good news, and perhaps sometimes not so good news, is that it is within you. And it is a slow and beautiful process, but you've got to take the time to go through and sort out and either journal or find a way to express your own sense of creativity. So it's a critical piece, is coming into your own creativity. Now, I used to always tell myself I'm not really a creative person. But by definition, because I'm alive, I'm a creative person because I'm creating my life. So the critical piece on living a fulfilled and dynamic and activated life, I love that term, activated life, and purposeful life, is to be creative. And so when you stop creating and you start to contract, and you've probably seen this in other people, you know, there's people who I describe as being vibrant and alive, and others who I describe as being a little disconnected. And they could be the same age, they could be younger than me and still have that sense of contraction because they're stagnant, they're stagnating. Brene Brown says unexpressed creativity is not benign. It's actually, kind of eating away at you because it wants to be expressed and there isn't a way of doing it. So that is all of my philosophical insights for today. So I'm going to unmute both of you, and unless there are other questions, I think we will call it a time. Or I would love to hear if you have any insights on what has shown up for you during this week that was unexpected for you, or was enlightening for you, that others who may be listening to this in the replay would enjoy hearing. So I'm opening it up to you.
Karen,
Karen, did you want to go? Oh, go ahead. Okay.
So I just want to say thank you for doing this for all of us, and to opening up those doors of thought and creative thought for us to look into ourselves and our futures.
Oh,
and
thank you so much. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing this. I thought about this when I was coming on the call. I was like, what if nobody shows up? And then I thought, wait a minute. My intention is to share. My intention is to share what I've learned, and in the beautiful hope that others will be served by it. So I want to lead by that example, but I'm really glad to hear that there are benefits and there is shift and gratitude for what I'm doing. So thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Lynn, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I too, like Karen, am very grateful that you're doing this, that you pour so much of yourself and your heart into this, and because it is really inspiring, and it helps for me, remind me that of what my why might be, that there is bigger, juicier, more ignited life there beyond the rut that I've created for myself. And then I loved the video that you did today, our homework with the kind of the guided meditation, because that really helped solidify a technique for listening to yourself. Because for me, I'm like, well, I'll listen to my intuition, but I don't quite know how, or I forget how. But in that quieting and listening to the guided meditation, it was so helpful. So thank you.
Oh, good. And Karen, I don't know if you've had a chance to do that yet. You don't have to say yes or no. I don't want to, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I think it's something I'm really proud of the way that guided meditation turned out. And, behind the scenes, there was a few hiccups, but I managed to work it through and figure out how to separate the audio out of the video and then make it into a separate thing. And I was so proud of myself for overcoming those technical hiccups, as they're called. I think the first time I recorded the whole thing, and then it got erased, or the dog barked or something, and I got all the way to the very end and had to start over again. But it all worked out as it always does. So with that, I am going to sign off now and look forward to hearing from you. We've got 2 more days of this Say Yes to You roadmap. And so please stay tuned in for your next 2 assignments, should you choose to take them. So hopefully we're going to end the week on a positive note and find ways that we can still stay engaged and in this conversation so that we feel supported.
Thank you.
Thank you all again. And we will be in touch soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.